Good evening and welcome to the Triggered Newscast. Today's April 3rd, 2019. I had a couple things that I wanted to bring up today. Firstly, the inversion of Fox News to CNN. So if you guys haven't been seeing any of the new videos I uploaded today, I threw out two, and one was on a really huge scandal that I'll cover here in a second, but the other one I did a couple hours ago, and it's about how Fox News has completely become CNN, and you can see different Fox hosts actually campaigning for Joe Biden. What do I mean? Well, they point out and state, well, look, this guy is being torn apart by his own party. But what do? They say, stop that. This isn't necessarily bad behavior. Maybe he's a little creepy, but they shouldn't be, pushing him out of the race. Joe Biden is polling 1 through 3rd on all the different polls. If your opposition, if your political adversary is not doing so well, why would you pat him on the back and help him back up? So I know a lot of you guys maybe have that feeling about Fox News, that now that CNN, Donna Brazil has come on over, we've completely lost any conservative viewpoint, vantage point, and while all news sources, all mainstream media, even small news sources like mine have a bias, I think that they pretend to have a bias they don't actually have. I think we see that a lot in the mainstream media. So other big news, I'm just a couple moments away. It's at 3 minutes away from this new Ruth Bader Ginsburg video. This one's huge because, as you guys know, anyone who's been following me, I have a pretty clear history of posting documentaries about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I've been doing that, compiling the evidence, because I haven't been convinced she's alive. Not necessarily have I been convinced she's dead. Mostly I just kind of believe she's been under the weather and hasn't been working, at least in person, or perhaps she's just been in such a bad state no one actually thought it would be polite to take photographs of her. So the video I uploaded is from the Amon Oz tribute funerary thing that happened in Washington, D.C. on the 31st, right before April Fool's. And the picture that I made a picture, I said fake RBG photograph. And there really is a lot of evidence that that photo looks completely fake. I mean, she is an old lady. Maybe she just looks really similar in a lot of her pictures and takes the same kind of clothes to different events. I don't know. It seems like you if you were Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you had a pretty good amount of money, you might kind of switch your fashion around. Look at Hillary Clinton. She gets her own pantsuits tailored. $30,000 pantsuit no one else on the planet wants. So why is Ruth Bader Ginsburg only showing up in these same clothes? I don't know. And the photo itself does look kind of fake, I'll admit. But this video, I'll say now to everyone, this is probably the best evidence that she may in fact be alive and be able to perform her job still. So I know that other people are going to need to look at this, compile it, really analyze it. It is kind of weird that the service is going on for a whole hour, and not until about 55 minutes into the video does Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually appear. And she walks through the front and comes down and sits. James Kirk, I got it coming right here. It's 2 minutes remaining, and in that description will have the source, and it has the entire video. You guys can watch it in its entirety. All I did was record the whole thing, splice it down just to the moments where she actually appears or people reference her. So it's it's hard to say because it doesn't show her face on. You don't see her from the front. You don't see her walk in because there's someone giving a speech while she walks in, and she comes straight through the front, sits down. No one kind of oohs and ahs or gasps or claps that she's walking in. No one thinks to snap a photograph of Ruth Bader Ginsburg just walking in the middle of the speech like, oh wow, put it on their own Twitter and said, look, I love this lady. I can't believe she's here today. But no oohs and ahs in the audience. She quietly walks in, sits down, and then the video during the event kind of pans around from the speaker back to the crowd, to the speaker, to the crowd, but never from the front vantage point like you'd expect, to kind of get that crowd reaction. It's all the crowd back of the heads. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know if I'm convinced that it's legitimately her. I haven't really even watched it enough times. I just found it. It was a tip that someone dropped me on the forums at www.triggerednewscast.com. And for Atomic News, for Frank, for some of you guys who don't know, I have a whole section on the forums that I'm actually dedicating to other channels, and hope that some of your subscribers will come and engage in the forums so that maybe we can have a place where cross-channel content and cross-channel subscribers can give each other tips and share information. So if you guys haven't, maybe you should check out www.triggerednewscast.com. Atomic, I think you're going to love it out. I have a section for profane news right now. I have a section for Let's Be Frank, but I want to get you and Pinoid News, the Wright Brothers, and any other channels that are small like ours that are just trying to get evidence out there and have a lot of good subscribers like you guys. Thanks for Frank for stopping in. Thanks Jim Kirk for coming in. Richard Lane. So again, this video, it's literally, oh, now it's processing. So we got 2 more minutes on processing, but it's really interesting because I haven't been convinced by any of the other evidence, and this one I'm gonna have to watch a couple times after I get off the live stream. So I'll post it in here in the chat. But here I'm gonna jump into one other really important issue that came up today, and I dropped the video at 4:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time, hoping that it would launch on the East Coast in time to get some traction. And that's about Anthem, Blue Shield, Blue Cross. They've been hacked many times over the years. There's a really popular story that was included in the video from 4 years ago where over 80 million people's personal information, social security numbers, medical files, images, they say no financial information in this current one, but they definitely admitted it in the prior one. So it's really interesting how big that scandal was 4 years ago, how quick they came out, how many of their own employees, their CEO was involved. Everybody's information was out to the public, basically. And that report turned out to be a foreign influence and a hacking, and it was China. It's been proven unequivocally that China interfered and went not into our election. Sorry if anyone just dropped in, but China interfered into the Blue Shield, Blue Cross and hacked the data. And in this recent case, what is extremely interesting is I have an inside source, and that inside source provided me with information that the public is just now in California and Michigan, Montana, and a few other states, because different elements of Anthem, it's actually a really large umbrella company. You know, different states have their own version. So without getting too much into the details and particulars there, several states are having issues because they're using third parties to protect that data nowadays. Because in this last 4 years, when they were hack attacked, that was in their own servers, and I think that the culpability, how susceptible it was, how much they had to pay out over $100 million, it was 115 million to all of the people who were affected by that. So in this current case, it's much smaller, but they're not telling the consumer. So in May 2018 through June 2018, Anthem, and really it wasn't Anthem directly, but one of their side sister companies that houses the data for Anthem of California for the different Blue Shield, Blue Cross, Medicaid. And it's not just those that are covered. There's also Kaiser Permanente, a lot of other medical fields. None of them have even come out and told their consumers that their information might be leaked. And so it was 11 months later that they're finally sending out the letter to different people in California this week. Sadly, because of disclosures and things like that, because it could be that person's job, they had to wait till the last second. But it's really interesting because you're going to hear about this story probably in the national news next week. And that's because everyone is receiving their letters right now. So it's really small. It's actually only 18,000 people that are being acknowledged, opposed to the 80 million in the previous hack. But what is really important here is it again was a foreign power hacking into an American company, while it was a third-party company that was storing those documents for Anthem, Blue Shield, Blue Cross of California. That information was obtained through foreign hacking. Now, those hackers kind of took a different approach. They decided to try and ransom all of that data back to Anthem, Blue Shield, Blue Cross, and Anthem got FBI, a lot of other investigational police and the state, local, because it's across the nation, it's across the country. It's actually a pretty big hacking scandal that no one's talking about because it doesn't fit into the Mueller report. And again, Anthem Blue Cross, specifically of California, hasn't made any public acknowledgement. They do have a small snippet on their website, and they have said that they've been sending out these letters since February. I didn't get that confirmed from my inside source, but I did get the and you can check this out on Twitter. Maybe I can copy and paste the thread right now for you guys to see. Is when I posted this video this morning, I tagged the Blue Shield, Blue Cross, Anthem, different media sources, and I tagged one of their outreaches, and I got a response on my thread. So I'm going to pop that up right here for you guys to take a look at. But what's interesting is they admitted not that it was a year or 11 months that they hadn't told their consumers about this, but that they were informed in December, held on to that information, and didn't tell their customers until the first week of February, supposedly. But I know from my inside source it's actually longer than that, and they're just getting them now. So the notices, all of the training, I wish that there was other documents that I could provide. Unfortunately, that is just for me. I'm not a true journalist, and I can't put someone at that much of a risk of losing their job over something that's about to hit the mainstream media. Anyway, if this was going to be completely under the carpet and no one was ever going to hear about it, maybe I would take a little bit more risk. Maybe they would too, to try and whistleblow it. But it's about to come out into the news, and really, I was just hoping to kind of drop it first because what's particularly interesting, again, not only with the foreign hacking of this. Sorry, I'm having trouble finding my own Twitter page. Somehow I got into the followers. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, we're dropping it right here now. Sorry, it's kind of hard to browse the internet and try and talk on a pretty complex subject. So, and maybe I won't keep going too much more in depth about the Blue Shield, but I think you guys should really check out that video I dropped this morning, and I'm going to do much more thorough reporting on it. If you guys have been following me for a long time, often I bring up something, just try and throw it together real fast, and if you look through the playlist or through the channel, obviously, as I have more time with that content, I really narrow down, I really fix, and get it streamlined for you guys. So right now as well, I'm going to drop this link here in the chat, and this is for the Ruth Bader Ginsburg video. I'm going to sign off here in a few minutes after I post this video. Maybe I'll just, answer a few questions. But I think I'm going to kick out for the tonight, and maybe you guys should check out those two videos. Again, the Anthem Blue Shield Blue Cross incident is going to be coming, and which I never iterated the point. It being hacked and ransomed is one of the first types of, I guess, international hacking terrorism that I've heard about recently. And what is very interesting from that inside source, which couldn't be given in documentation but could be given verbally, was that immediately after, if you look at that Twitter thread, the public coordinator responded to my post, and I responded again saying, okay, well, what about if it's been 7 months then? What about the allegations that there's a ransom? They did not reply, but my inside source said they immediately set up a whole PR meeting, and they know this is about to go public, but that's one element of the investigation of all of the leaked info that they're trying to avoid the public knowing because of these past scandals, the 80 million being susceptible just 4 years ago. And it's repeated. That little video shows you actually 5 or 6 incidences, several articles where Anthem Blue Shield is consistently being hacked. And what is probably the most hilarious and ridiculous is after each one of those previous incidents, they were already promising all of their insurees that they would have identity protection, identity safeguards, these kinds of things. Didn't work because they weren't actually watching the information anyways. They had it in a third-party database. That third-party database wasn't giving the customers that same option. Well, now that their information's been leaked, and it's only come out that it's 18,000 so far, but my personal belief and my insider kind of belief is that that's just what was shown for ransom, that it's probably everything. And what they've been going after isn't necessarily patient information and rights. They want to get to the bank accounts, obviously. But I think that they also want, I mean, California's got Hollyweird. We have a lot of celebrities here. We have a lot of politicians who live in other states but have their houses here in California, their summer homes, vacation homes. So I don't know. There could be other reasons, other things that the countries were trying to do with blackmail, but I think, and so does my inside source, that it primarily had to do with money. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go for the evening. Again, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, I'm going to have a live cast at 8 p.m. or thereabouts. And obviously, I drop content more than that. And I will do more live casts than just those. But that's the steady live cast schedule. If you go to www.triggerednewscast.com, there's a Google Calendar. I haven't populated it just yet, but I plan on populating it 2 weeks to a month ahead of time with the topics. If you get in on the forums, you can engage. You can, obviously tell me a topic that you guys would like to hear me talk on. So for now that I just dropped those videos in the chat, the Twitter in the chat for you guys to look at, I'm just going to say hi to a few of you guys and let you go. So Irish Asgardian, yeah, dude, Frank is awesome. I was just in his live stream. You missed it out. Thanks, Irish. But yeah, he was covering some funny topics, talking about a lot of the Democrats running right now. So Jim Kirk, YouTube video is unavailable. Yeah, that's because it was probably still processing, but I didn't hit done. So now it should be good and live to go. Try it again, Jim Kirk. That was operator error right there. Or not operator, I guess the manufacturer. That was my fault, not your fault, Jim. All right, let me look through Atomic News. My voice used to be used on their automated system. I was literally the voice of Blue Cross of California. Wow, that's really interesting. When we finally do a Skype or one-on-one interview or that collaborative interview between me, you, Let's Be Frank, Pinoid News, the Wright brothers, and such, I'd love for you to talk on that subject too, because I know this is about to trend next week. It's too late. Too many people are going to be really mad, especially here in California, but it's happening in several other states, and it's not necessarily in this hack. Uh, I guess the firewall or the data management responsibility or at fault of Anthem, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, its employees. It's a third party thing, but where it does become at least the upper management issue with the Blue Cross Blue Shield is they didn't tell their consumers for 7 months. Imagine that. I know as a company owner that even just 18,000 of my million users have all of their private information in unknowable hands in a hacker in a foreign country who's demanding ransom for this information. And I understand they have to tell, law enforcement, some of the investigation elements have to be kept quiet. I understand things like that, but still sensitive to those consumers. They should have got prompt and immediate attention. They should have. Why didn't Blue Shield in each of these different areas set up a lawyer to help out those that were affected and immediately give them identity protection? No, their promise is if you decide not to leave us now that we've lost your information yet again, we'll go ahead and give you a year free identity monitoring and recovery protection, which they've already been offering. So I don't get it. Obviously, it didn't work the first time. So all right, guys, I really hope you have a good night. I hope you like those 2 videos I dropped. Dave Kranick just got Ginsburg video evidence notification. Yeah, I was really delayed on hitting play on that. Sorry about that, guys. China hacked Blue Cross Blue Shield. Yes, and that was 4 years ago, right after the Obamacare health was pushed. It was mandated, forced on us all. And what happened? They didn't even protect our information. So not only did we all have to do it, especially in California, that was one of the only avenues of insurance you could do. It was Medicaid, Medi-Cal, Blue Shield, Blue Cross. There's a couple other avenues. If you have money to pay for yourself, there's a couple other avenues. Within Blue Shield, Blue Cross, there's a couple avenues if you're paying. And so I'm not sure how 4 years ago when they were hacked, all of that same insurance information. Perhaps someone who watches this video, hey partner, welcome. Maybe someone who watches this video afterwards actually, like Atomic, worked at Blue Shield in the past and can say, hey, when you're billing or dealing with customer, I obviously can't give you customer information, but X, Y, and Z would be contained within the docket. So their payment history, that how much they put down as a deposit or a premium, and how much they owe more until insurance will pay out, how much the insurance did pay out, who it paid out to. Sometimes the insurance pays to the hospital. I'm not sure if it pays out to individuals, but it seems to me that there should be some more financial evidence in there. I'm not sure how you could have any medical file without a social security number. So they're not admitting social security numbers were lost this time, although they did last time. So the same kind of hack, the same kind of files, but this time, it wasn't nearly as many. But these people were ransoming it, and it was being taken seriously enough that they didn't tell their consumers for 7 months. So to me, I think that's crazy. I think you guys will really like that drop. Please consider, if you look back up in this live chat, or I'll add it in the description and the comments afterwards, the Twitter that the post and thread that I did with the video, and I also add right on that thread, you can look at it, the actual picture that was provided to me by my insider of that's the internal file that they would see that has all the information to plug right in. Hey, let's be frank, thanks, man. That's my second one ever. So I think this is for you guys. I think every time that ever happens, we're gonna give you triggered. So you guys are gonna get one of those every time I ever see money drop. It'll interrupt whatever I'm saying. Hopefully, it'll be hilarious to people catching it. It'll be more improv and on the spot next time. So thank you. Let's be frank. That's awesome. Maybe Friday night I'm gonna delve deeper. I'm gonna have been able to do more research on this Blue Shield Blue Cross thing, and hopefully you guys will check that out. Consider retweeting the tweet. I'm really trying to get it some traction so that people know. Not only has this been known, it's on the internet in several spots, but the mainstream media has chosen not to cover it. They've had a very successful campaign of keeping this one extremely quiet. But if it's so much smaller, I mean, 18,000 to 80 million, what is the differential right there? That's a huge difference. Let's see, 80 million. And despite that, it's 18,000 or whether it's 80 million. It's important to tell your consumers. But if that 80 million one was able to be instantly told to everybody, and they were all over the news, and the video I posted, the CEOs even up there apologizing, they're saying that these are happening increasingly. You can see in that video that it does happen several more times. It happened again in January, a whole separate attack. So I don't know. I don't know why they kept this one so quiet. Maybe it has something to do with some of the other Mueller investigations and things. All I can really do is keep digging into it. So thank you guys. I hope you have a wonderful night. You guys are awesome, and we'll see you again on the next Triggered Livecast.